Hello people, we are bright and early leaving this anchorage at Esperanza, and we are just doing a short trip to Chiva to be better suited for when we're crossing to Culebra. It's going to be a short passage, and we're going to do just an overnight there so that we don't have to do too much easterly tomorrow morning. We should be able to just be all sailing once we get around the corner of this island. It's pretty wavy, look up front. They got these fish traps and they're all over the place. Coming along Puerto Rico, we've dodged about 20 of them, having to make hard turns to get around them because they got a rope span between two sets of small markers. And with all these white caps, you don't see them until they're right beside you so much. So I spent most of my time right here watching for them so that we don't get our prop tangled up in a rope, which would really suck because I don't want to jump in the water and untangle that out in these pretty splashy seas. There you go. Oh, it's leaking, it's leaking. Good morning, guys. We are pretty much ready to leave for Culebra from Vieques Island. We're just waiting for these squalls to pass, and while we're sitting here waiting, I see the closest rainbow I've ever seen in my life. Both ends of it are right behind our boat. Let me turn around and show you. There's the one end, and if you follow it up and back down behind our barbecue, there's the other end. Crazy. Both ends of the rainbow right behind us. We're actually going to be doing some sailing today. We're not going to be beating into the wind for the first time in a while. So yeah, looking forward to this. We're seeing 20 knots of wind, and it's coming straight from the east, which of course is exactly where we're trying to go. So we're doing a little motor sailing and tacking because just with the motor alone, we hardly can get any headway with this wind and waves pushing us backwards. So we're kind of sail, tacking, and motoring to get the first, it's maybe 5 miles to get around the island. So could be a couple hours of this, and then once we round the island, we're going to be good for just sailing, which we're looking forward to. Enjoying hunting for fish traps because they're everywhere here. They're towing that boat, and they are going so fast. That boat they're towing is not that small. It's a twin engine outboard. And they look like they're doing like 30 knots towing that through these seas. There's like 2-3 meter seas out here and 20 knots of wind. Even the big boat is just plowing through the wind. Craziness. They went right between us and our buddy boats. He was on a collision course for a while, and he kept making correction to be pointing towards us. So yeah, I got our air horn out for the first time and gave it a little toot toot, like just in case you're taking a nap, this is a good time to wake up.
People, we just got a massive wave, and it got all the Dodger and the electronics. Everything is wet in here. My God, so
I'm soaked, and that just came right over our Dodger.
wow.
The whole cockpit soaked.
Well, our engine stopped working again. Mike is down below, figuring it out and checking what's wrong. For now, we're kind of on the horn of Puerto Rico, and we're just tacking off the horn so we don't get roadsided by waves, because these waves are massive.
fuel line at the fuel filter, and I blew through it, and there was some pressure there. I think there's debris coming off the inside of our tank, like varnish, and it's getting inside the fuel lines. I really need to get like a strainer to go on the inside right now, because we're seeing so much debris since we sat for the summer. We got fuel in Dominican Republic, and since then we have all this like varnish on the inside of our tank. I've never had a problem with that before. We've motored well over 1,000 miles. So yeah, we're gonna do a tack right now with the motor on. We still have to get around this horn, but we should be fine now. That's the horn of vieques. Keeping our electronics down here, our iPad, which we use for navigation, and keeping headphones on to keep the wind out of my ears. There's St. Thomas right there, and there's Culebra. So soon we'll be able to turn the engine off and start sailing as soon as we get past this point. Finally, no engine. You can see Culebra right out there. We're doing a bit over 4 knots, goes up and down. We've got a lot of counter current right now. We're being pushed back by the current, but once we get past this horn, that should settle out and we should start making some better speed. A little unexpected event. I was watching some rain over St. Thomas, and it looked pretty far away. 20 minutes later, you could hear the wind just whistling, and we were heeling over hard. Mary looked at the speed. We're doing 7.9 knots. Sheeted out the main right away. It's way out there now. And then Mary helped me pull in our jib, because we had a full jib out, or full Yankee sail out, and that stood us up. And we're still doing 5 knots right now with our mainsail sheeted out like a lot. So when the wind gust came, our wind instrument stopped working again. So I have no idea what the wind speed is, but it's enough to make everything whistle. And I think we're maybe halfway through it right now. Is the first front of it is where the wind really hit hard, and then and a couple of minutes later you start getting the sprinkles, then the wind died off a bit, so it's maybe like 25 knots right now, but I think it hit us probably like 30-35 knots. Took us 2 minutes maybe to get everything sheeted out and rolled up. So we're good again now. Got some canvas up here to keep the cockpit a bit dry, and then just as that happened, we realized that our iPad that we use for navionics was on low battery power. I think we got too much salt spray in there today. Our little in-cockpit charger is no longer functioning. So when we get to Culebra, I'm gonna have to try and clean out those terminals and see if we can get that working, and probably clean out all of our electronics. Big, pardon my French. Whoa! Oh geez, we got wet. That was even with this canvas up.
Oh my god.
That wave just knocked us. Okay, I'm gonna put the camera down now because it's pretty rough. As usual, you can never see the waves with the camera. It's kind of flat right now in comparison, but we just get the odd rogue wave that's huge. It just splashes right over our side. But we're only less than an hour away from Culebra. We'll be in a safe harbor soon. Hello everyone, we are in Culebra. I'm going to deal with the engine problem we had. Now that we're not swishing around and moving and offshore, and I take a look inside our fuel tank, I can really see what the issue is. There's suddenly so much debris in there, and we never had this problem before. I'm going to show you. hopefully you can see that there's debris. You can see it kind of gently rolling around, but there's big flakes of stuff all over the bottom of that tank. What I plan to do is going to take some of the stainless steel mesh and make myself a little pre-filter to strain out the large particles. Now that I got my stainless steel cut and shaped, I'm going to nut up one end with a bolt and nut, and then hose clamp the other end onto where the gas line comes out of the fuel tank. The inlet, I guess. I'm just using a nut and a bolt, so there's a little bit more surface area to grab a hold of with the hose clamp. And now for putting this over the fuel line, which comes out like that in the tank, just going to slide that over, slide that into place, tighten that up, and I'll have a pre-filter. I won't be able to show you inside the tank because I can't get the camera inside the tank while I got my both arms in there. I got that installed now. Let's see if I can get a camera down there. You can see that. Get back there. So that's what I installed over the inlet. And I'm going to get a strainer now and try and scoop out some of the larger particles until we can get an extra rate core filter, hook it to a pump that I have, and just circulate it and try and scoop up all the big particles by vacuuming basically the fuel polisher, I believe it's called. We're going to vacuum up all the particles inside there, all the large particles. Then the engine filters can take care of the rest, but at least now with the strainer in there, it's not going to plug up the hoses. And before I hooked it up, I blew out from the rate core filter to the tank and actually saw drips that were still hanging out of the tube when I went back and looked inside the tank. There are actually strips of varnish sticking out of the hose that I pulled out. So then I redid that again, trying to clear out that line. So it is getting stuck inside the line, and that is what choked out our engine. Things will always happen like that at the most unopportunist time, because when the boat is under heavier stresses is when things break down. For even inside your fuel tank, everything's swashing around, so all those loose particles now are getting swashed closer to the inlet and then getting sucked up. Same thing goes with your rigging and everything else. Everything's going to happen at the worst time, so you have to be prepared before the worst time comes as best you can. Aside from us getting here to Culebra, we're going to show you a little bit of the town now. We found some laundry, which is great because we have not found a laundry machine since Dominican Republic. We're due for some laundry and some diesel fuel. I'm just going to do one jerry can at a time. So I think I came up with a solution for straining out our fuel tank to get all the large particles out of there. I've got a spare faucet fuel pump, brand new. I got this, which is going to return the fuel back into the tanks. I picked up this disposable, basically inline fuel filter from a hardware store here, and in front of that is going to be my suction device, my pre-filter. So this is to capture the large particles. I put a little stainless steel screen inside there. This is going to fit over top, and then I'm going to put a hose clamp right on here. That way I can vacuum up all the big particles. This will get all the small particles, and then I'll just leave it running for maybe an hour or so just to get the fuel cleaned out. Now you can see how much stuff I got out of there. Yeah. So what? I think that's about as far as I'm going to get tonight. But you can see this is what I shook out of my tube. There's little particles all around here. This rag is just full of them all underneath. Some of them have white stuff on it. I don't know what that is about. You can see here it's like translucent, so I think it's the varnish you can get from oils. But why there's a layer of white on there, I don't know. That's the after. If you can see anything, it's not 100%, but it's a lot better. This is probably enough that I can start filling up our fuel again. I didn't want to fill it up with all this debris in here.